Hello! Today I'll be showing you how to build the most magical and festive winter village filled with immense detail and life, and I've got many building tips and tricks so that you can make your own wintry village for the North Pole of your Minecraft world. So let's get right into it. To start off, we need to find a snowy location. A birch forest doesn't really cut it, so to do this just use the /locate command, biome, snowy slopes, and then teleport to the nearest mountain biome. You may still need to do some searching to find your perfect location though, like I've done with this mountain. Okay, yeah, so this is my favourite. And for the first of our two different neighbourhoods, I'm going to do a gingerbread man's chocolate village. For the houses, we'll use birch, spruce and dark oak for a chocolatey wood palette. Just start with a small and simple T shape with the stripped spruce logs marking the corners. Then just fill the inside with birch planks, and for this build we'll do a simple A-frame roof lined with a dark oak trim. I think that looks pretty cool, but I do think we can jazz this up a bit. So we can lift the roof up to then accentuate the corners with like a droopy look, and we'll make the top more interesting using this stair pattern. Some fence posts to give a subtle fantasy look. Onto the detailing, where we can add a chimney to the front here, planning the shape using cobblestone, but then working into that with a mixture of stone bricks and andesite, adding stairs to make it look really cracked, then sneak in a little campfire behind to get some smoke. Lovely, but it's still looking a bit bland, so I'll mix in some campfires to make the roof more weathered. Just make sure to place the campfire with the lower logs connecting so that they look like they're supporting the upper logs. Then we can finish the house with some frosty white windows round the back. Now this is a village, not a house, so we need some paths to connect the houses up. And what better choice than Cherrywood to evoke those pink wafer biscuits for our chocolate village. So it's going to be very higgledy-piggledy with pressure plates and buttons thrown everywhere. Now I'm using World Edit to copy this house over here, but I'll put the chimney at the back, which I'll make a bit taller so that it's still visible from the courtyard. Okay, now I'm going to add a third house for the rule of threes, but we can make it a bit different by expanding it a bit and then moving the chimney off centre. Where the house is a block raised up, I'm going to add a granite patio which will tone well with the cherry pathway. And there we are. But everything's looking the same, so let's change that. So let's change this middle house to have a lighter wafer roof. I don't know, but this cut copper looks like it could really be some sort of biscuit wafer. Same with these mud bricks and the jungle planks. So let's mix them up. And I'll switch out the spruce pillars as well for jungle ones. Alright, so you can see I'm expanding this path to create a sort of mini high street, which is what our next build is going to be themed on. A 3-story winter shop. As usual, I like to start with the middle floors. So I'm planning out 2 sets of windows and a diagonal window facing the street. You'll notice I'm using glass blocks the block behind, so that we've got that space to add some trapdoor ornamentation in front. Now for the textures. So some cut sandstone will work well, gives a nice custard cream look I guess. I've mixed in some logs with the planks to break up the texture a bit. The base should be at least 1 block taller and a darker shade to give it more prominence. So let's use jungle wood. Now to make this look all decorated and chocolatey, over detailing will be your friend. That means trapdoors everywhere, stairs, log faces and candy cane coloured windows, as well as a nice white canopy with some miscellaneous items on display. For the roof, a dark wooden trim will work well with a flat roof. And then we can add a brick chimney to decorate the back, and then mixing in some terracotta and granite as well really brings it all together. Then I think I'll use this same warm tone to fill the roof. And we're done! These builds are now looking pretty good, but the whole area still feels a bit dull and out of place. It's lacking the landscaping and details that will really bring it to life. So let's work on that, starting with these candy cane lampposts. Here's another full candy cane design which we can place in the background. So already you can see this village looks a lot more lived in, but we can do more with the landscape. So let's add some trees. Although I'm thinking cherry trees would be the perfect fit for the vibe, If we just use the vanilla tree, it'll look, well, pretty pants. So let's design our own custom pink bonsai. Just start with a curvy trunk using some stairs and slabs. Then this will bend upwards. I think 3 main branches is pretty good. So then let's add some fences, fence gates and trapdoors for the final spindly branches to attach the leaves to. Now for the leaves, I like to keep it nice and airy, keeping them to the tips and using this pattern of 3 or 4 leaves at the tips. My advice though would be to try to keep most of your leaves diagonal to each other, because straight edges can stick out like a sore thumb in this sort of natural build. Finally, mixing in some wool, glazed terracotta and lit candles into the tree canopy will elevate your tree to a magical masterpiece, fitting for the North Pole. For an alternative to candles, end rods also look brilliant, but I wouldn't use both in the same tree. Now, after adding in some more natural gravel paths, we're nearly done, but we're missing the crucial ingredient. Where are the decorations? I was honestly surprised myself how much of a difference this made. Just by adding some glowberries and lanterns immediately transformed the shop front. Then some glass panes for Christmas lights brought the houses to life. Amethyst also works well for purple icicle lights. Then my favourite touch was alternating redstone and soulfire torches around the top of the shop. Although you can see the sticks from close up, from a distance it's surprisingly effective. Finally, the homely touch of the hanging sign just adds a touch of world building to make the village really feel like a lived in place. And there we are, our first village. But we've really only got started. Now onto the elf village. Just before I start, I'd be so grateful if you could subscribe if you've enjoyed the video so far, to let me know that you like this style of video and to stay tuned for future time lapses, tutorials and city update videos. Anyway, onto the main build. So over here we've got a lovely mountain stream, which is why I think here is the perfect location for an elf's winter fishing village. So let's start with the elf's house. So we're starting with a basic 9x7 rectangle, and then our walls will form a 7x5 rectangle 1 block set back. Whilst doing this, you can bear in mind where windows might go. Anyway, the showpiece of this build is going to be a massive pitched roof, starting shallow, then using stairs to build to a steep point. We've done cobblestone for the trim, but the inside is going to be filled with dark oak wood. But currently it's looking, well, not great. That's because we need to curve the roofline to give it a bit more character. So what looks quite natural is to sag the centre of the roof, but then at the bottom lip we can actually push it up at the centre. We can accentuate this with some hanging lanterns at each end as well. Okay, for the walls, similar to the shop, we want to over detail as much as possible. So I'm adding a windowsill, trapdoors, buttons and some light grey glass panes to evoke very ornamented window panes. At the front we can add a little porch where our sign can hang off, again curving it generously for that elf-like look. To cap off the build, let's add some charm with a curvy chimney that will come out from the roof, and this will use stone bricks as a base texture to separate it from the roof. Speaking of the roof, I'm adding a subtle gradient from andesite to cobblestone at the top to make it look a bit more interesting. Now let's push this back into position and then copy it and rotate it for our next house, which will be slightly different. You see, we want our homes to have a bit of personality. So I'm going to droop this lower lip of the roof to make it sag, which will then give this house a slightly sad, droopy personality compared to the one on the left. And I'll also change the porch design for some variety. Now for the festivities. We're basically copying the same decorations as before, so glass panes, torches, glowberries and lanterns. Alright, this is looking lovely already, especially with the campfires I've added. But again, we need to add another house for this to look like and feel like a village. This will go just behind our shop to kind of cover it up, and I'm going to add a small extension to the side with a shallower roof. Okay, 3 houses, but this central area is looking a little barren without our centrepiece. So, let's build a frozen lake, starting by clearing a rectangle with air using World Edit, then filling a layer of black concrete to indicate a deep lake, then 2 blocks of water above, and finally our ice. We're going to use a push and pull method to create an interesting lake shape, pulling out strands and then pushing in to create those nice diagonal shapes. You know what comes after the shape? Texturing. So it's a simple gradient from blue ice to packed ice to regular ice. And then I'll put some glow squid underwater to add some magic. And as a subtle detail, you can add some amethyst clusters below the packed ice to indicate some ice crystals in the water. Then cap off the sides by layering up the snow to make it look properly caked on. Did I mention a fishing village? Yeah, so we need to add a small pontoon on top of the ice. Details using chests, barrels, glow lichen for fishing nets, and campfires to make the pontoon all rickety. Lastly, for health and safety, our elves should have a fence so that they don't fall in. Ooh, that'd be nasty. Okay, to bring this frozen lake to life, we can add some sledges, but using boats looks pretty pants, so instead, place 2 flat trapdoors and then some signs around the front. To make it look like they're propped up against the side here, you can use open fence gates instead for the handles. There, that looks fun. So now I'm just adding a worn stone path between the houses to connect them together, and also adding some cracked bricks as well as brick stairs and buttons to make it look all old and battered up. As you can see, the pavement connects to the gingerbread village as well. Then, like we did with the candy canes in that village, we can add some street lamps, but in a Victorian style using anvils and lanterns, like this. Then for a mini centrepiece, I've got a cute little fountain design for which we're going to use 3 hoppers attached to a central anvil. Then for the water, we can add some blue glass panes, changing the side blocks to upside down stairs to prevent them connecting to it. Then we can add the water jets to the top as well. Lovely! Now to finish this off, I've got an epic and simple tree design to show you, which we will also use for the large Christmas tree, so stay tuned until the end to see that. Okay, so start with a central trunk with some stairs and slabs at the base. Let's use never brick walls for a slender main trunk. Off of the main trunk, add a fence gate and then a fence post at different heights. Then just a fence gate, then just a fence post at the top, where you'll also need to change the trunk to a thinner dark oak fence for it to connect, and that gives it a nice tapered look towards the top. For the leaves, we do the same pattern of just 3 spruce leaves at the tips of each branch, and any extra leaves or branches where you think it's necessary. Nice! Before we continue, let's copy this a few times at different heights to get some variations. The next step is to mix in some birch leaves and then adding a few layers of snow towards the bottom. I'll remove some snow just beneath the tree where it might have protected the ground from snowfall, and that really helps to connect it with the environment it sits in. Okay, now because I'm lazy, I'll use World Edit to copy and paste the rest of this forest up the mountain. However, between these 2 houses I want to keep it open whilst not being too bare. So let's place some tree stumps to indicate where this space might have been cleared out for the houses. Wow, this is looking so magical. I think we're finally ready to move on to the finishing touch, the Christmas tree. So after adding some red walls to decorate the street lamps, I've placed our Christmas tree on the outskirts of the village, much higher than the other trees, so we'll need to edit the shape and get the wide base that smoothly tapers up towards the top. Then to place the baubles, I've used 4 colours of candles, but you'll need to temporarily replace the leaf block with a solid block to actually place them down. Then you can replace it back with a leaf block. You can also hang some lanterns under any available fence post. Also, flower pots work well, but placing crimson mushrooms in them gives them a surprisingly convincing effect of red baubles. And of course, finally, the end rods for bits of tinsel. Oh, and look! The elves have put the presents at the bottom of the tree. Yes, we've got shulker boxes with candles for bows, some pots and flower pots, as well as some boxy looking blocks like purple bricks, chiseled bamboo and the copper bulb. And there we are, 2 magical winter village ideas. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Let me know what you think of the village down in the comments. What's your favourite part? I particularly like the winter shop and the Christmas tree. But anyway, thank you very much for watching and have a great Christmas. That is, if you're watching this before December the 25th. Bye.